Okay, so where we're at right now is we've got this this Theme Jam website, and at the moment you can, let's make this a little bit smaller, you can check out the site, learn how to get started, and see the rules, and then after you see the rules, you can submit a site, and that site submission happens through Airtable. Once you have submitted that, it goes into our Theme Jam database. Let me get away from that so that it's not showing everybody's email address. But then that brings us to our Airtable API. And so in here, I can pull out this data and show it on the theme or show it on the site. And so what I want to do is using, hopefully I'm logged into Figma. I'm not. Okay, we'll get here. Let's see. So flow, oh crap, what's my Figma login? All right, hold on. Must be the other account. Okay. All right. So, yeah, what I'm doing now is I'm just getting logged into Figma so we can look at the actual design that we got from Florian Kissling, one of our designers here, or I guess our only designer. So in here, we've got what is our showcase design, which we're waiting for it to load. There we go. Let's see, which version did we stick with? I think we went with the simpler entries because we want to showcase as much as we can of the site itself. So this is going to be pretty straightforward. It's, you know, the same kind of general top. We want to have that header, but what we're actually building is going to be this showcase here. So we just want to show off each of these entries. And so we've got the, what we're bringing in, we have the name, which we're going to use, the repo, the demo link, a screenshot, and I think that's all we need. So over here, we're going to use the screenshot, the repo, and then we're going to pull that person's avatar off the repo, which we'll have to figure out how to do that because who knows if that's going to work. Also, so I'm playing some background music today since it's just me and I didn't want it to be like awkwardly silent. I'm using the lo-fi hip hop station off YouTube. This one here. It's a good one for the background noise, and I'm pretty sure that it doesn't violate any rules. So hopefully this video doesn't get taken down when I cross-post it to YouTube. But anyways, I'm seeing some people join. How's everybody doing today? Is anybody actively working on a theme for the Theme Jam? All right, so while I'm doing this, I'm gonna get over to the code. And so this is our basic setup. So we've got the actual site here. The Theme Jam site is reasonably straightforward. So we've got let's see, there's a handful of things in here actually that, so I only worked on part of this. So we've got the site metadata setup. We're using this for showing off, like, you know, the blurb on the footer, the actual social media links and those sorts of things. Those are all pulled out of site metadata. We're using Helmet, and that's for being able to set the head, like SEO links and things like that. We've got Gatsby plugin catch links because the Sanity API, or the Sanity editor, puts local links in, but it doesn't use Gatsby link. And so if we use catch links, it just turns those into Gatsby links. Yeah, I'm digging the lo-fi too. This is one of my favorite things to listen to in the background when I'm actually trying to focus down on things. We've got our Google Analytics in here as well, and then our marketing theme, which is where we're using the sanity stuff. And that's really it, right? So actually what I probably should do is move this into the sanity theme because, I mean, that's useful, but it'd be nice if we didn't have to install that. And then the thing that I want to do today is I want to build this Gatsby theme showcase. And so looking into the packages themselves, this is the marketing theme. You can find that one on GitHub if you want to look at it. And this one there's nothing to it yet. It's an empty index and that's it. So if I go into my Gatsby config and I uncomment this, nothing's going to happen. I can start it, yarn workspace, site develop, and what's going to end up happening is, actually, you know what I was thinking would be cool? So I want to try something because I want to test out how glitch works. So I think what I can do is use the glitch live share to, all right, let me see how I can do this. How's this gonna work? Do I have this published? Let's get in and check it out. Because what I want to do is I want to put this up on Glitch so that anybody who wants to can actually follow along in real time. And I was also thinking, like, depending on how this works, something cool would be I can like ask for help, and anybody who signed in for Glitch could code along with me. So definitely, if that's something that's interesting to you, like, leave a comment because it's the sort of thing that I'm not sure. I'm always trying to figure out ways to make this a little more interactive. So, you know, let me know what would be fun for you. Let's see. We want the showcase, and let me see if I've got this. All right. So this is the other one. Gatsby theme. Okay. So I just set this up as a different thing. So let's go into Gatsby theme showcase, and I'm just going to create a new repo, and then I'm going to create this repo that's going to go up onto GitHub, and then I can do like let's touch git ignore, and then I can open it in here, and I'm going to ignore the node modules. I'm going to ignore the cache folder and the public folder. And I'm going to use, I think that should be all I need for now. We'll add more later if we need to. So, okay. So now that I've got that, what I can do is just add all of these. I'm going to commit repo to start GitHub, and then I'm going to push set upstream to origin master. And now that I've got that, what I can do is let's do git browse. That'll actually open this thing, and then I can come into Glitch, clone from a git repo, and I'm going to be able to hopefully get the exact Glitch project in. And what will be very cool about this, assuming it all works. You doing it? There should be an index.js in here. It looks like it didn't do that. Let's see. So what should be able to happen here is if I do like glitch, I'm gonna open a project. Sign in on glitch. And what my hope is, no, this is the wrong one. Hold on. Crap. Shit. All right. So what it's trying to do is open my other glitch editor, which is fine, I guess, but I'm gonna have to do something else. So let's go to glitch. I'm gonna sign in with an email code. Okay, now I gotta open my email, which I don't have open. After we get this once, it's going to be super cool. So let's see, I'm going in here, connect to glitch. And I love these randomly generated names. Okay, so did you actually edit? Sign in successful, that's what I wanted. All right, so now I'm gonna open a project. And this is what I want to open. Not gonna save that. And it gave me what? Nothing. It's like a completely empty project. I guess is that it? Is that the end of the world for me? I don't know why it didn't pick this up. It seems like it should have. Let's keep poking here. If I refresh this page, it does nothing. Okay, so let's just add a file. So I'm going to add an index.js. And in this, I'm going to mark it as like a no. So, and then it shows up. So, and this is what I wanted to show because it's pretty cool. If I like hide this and then I just come in here, the editing on this is like near instant. So that's really powerful. And so if anybody wants to follow along now, what you can do is you can actually go right into this project. And let me get where's my share button? I guess I can just like, what do I do? Oh, I click the share button. Jeez. All right. So I can click this. I can post this in here, and then anybody who wants to should be able to follow this code live as we write it, which will be pretty rad, I think. So what I'm trying to do here is get this theme set up. So all right, I'm seeing people jump in. That's pretty awesome. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at what's going on in here, and I'm going to create a Gatsby config, and I'm also going to create a package.json. See if it'll let me do that. It's going to let me do that. And so in the package.json, I want to add a couple things. I need to add a name, and I'm going to namespace this one, so it's going to be under my npm username. And then it's got to include Gatsby theme so that we process the code inside of it. And then we will do showcase. We're going to set the license to MIT. We'll set the author info. And I just like the shorthand, so that's my name. And then my email. Then we need to set the keywords. I'm going to set Gatsby, Gatsby plugin, and Gatsby theme. And what else do I need? I don't know that I need too much else here. Let's, where do you think I am? If I like, that doesn't seem right. That's not what we want at all. So, maybe, can I like add packages and stuff? Are you gonna let me do that? Well, that's cool. Thanks for joining the glitch project, David, Bryce, and Jacob. And my error is probably because there's nothing in here to look at. So, oh, I need a main. That's why it's probably giving me an error. So let's set the main to index.js. That's why we created this. And then what happens? You doing stuff? I don't know. Let's pop this open. I'm going to open a new window, and it should just give us like an empty screen, which would be right, because right now we're just showing like an empty index.js with nothing in it. Are there things happening? Like if I go into my logs, Start.sh command not found. Oh, I need to add some start commands and stuff. So if I go in here, I can do like scripts, and then we can do like a start would be Gatsby develop. Then what happens? Does that work now? Oh, okay. So now we need to add as a dependency Gatsby. And how do I, is it just going to let me like add a, can I just add a dependency like this? So I know how I would do this normally, but like, do you let me just add a dependency? Oh man. So I had Potch in here on the stream a while back, which was awesome. And he showed me how to do all this stuff, and he made it look so easy, and now I can't remember how to do it. So I'm going to, I'm going to click the add. Oh my God. Okay. So I'm going to add the Gatsby package. I'm also going to add the React package, and I'm going to add React DOM. Okay. And if I knew the version numbers, I could have just done that through. That doesn't seem like the latest version of Gatsby. Where are we at on that? .213.23. Keep up, glitch. All right, so now it should start doing what I want. And my general idea is that I just want like a placeholder Gatsby page. It shouldn't do anything yet. There shouldn't be any actual content. It should just give us like a you're running Gatsby 404 page with, you know, some log errors and stuff like that. It's still attempting to download things, so what was that? Didn't like something. Downloaded, cannot link. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to deal with that. Hopefully it works. It's doing stuff. That all seems okay. Okay, all right, so it's booting now. And cool. All right, so we've got ourselves a functioning page, and so you can kind of follow along with what this is doing. And so we now have, yeah, so one of the problems with Twitch is that the delay is like 3 to 5 seconds depending on how things go. So it'll be a little bit weird with glitch, just because the glitch is going to be much faster than the stream. So might be too awkward. We might not do this again. There's a reason that I'm doing this by myself today, is to try this out before I've got a guest on, and you know, make sure that I know how to do all this stuff, so that, you know, when we're actually doing an episode with someone live, we don't burn all their time with trying to figure out the tools. So, all right. What I want to do then is I want to close out this log and make this just a tad bit smaller so that I can see everything. Because what I was doing was opening the logs, and then when it opens, you couldn't actually see that logs button. All right. So I've got Gatsby running. I've got this Gatsby config.js, and I think the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to build this like a site, and then once we've got it running, I'm going to set up the theme options so that we can then publish it as a theme and install it into the into the Theme Jam site so that we can see how it's working. And the cool thing is that Kyle Gill, who is he's interning at Gatsby right now, he's already done a lot of the work to do the visuals, which we looked at a second ago here in the. There he is, right there, Kyle Gill. He's done a lot of the work to make this look the way it is. He did the UI part, so I need to get the data is really what we need. So let's jump in and get some basic setup here. I need to get module.exports. I want to get the plugins, and the plugins that I need are going to be, I want Gatsby source Airtable, and the Airtable source is going to ask me for a handful of things. Most importantly, it's going to need my API key, but I'm going to have to hide the screen when I do that, so everybody get ready for a blackout. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in the tables. And so I only have one table. I've got the, let me hide everybody's email address for a second so I can actually show this. Let me hide the email. All right, now I'll bring this back over so we can actually look at it. So this is what the submissions look like. I've hidden the email field, so we've also got one of those in here. But this just shows me what we've seen. So like this is who has submitted a theme to the Theme Jam thus far. They've got a link to the repo, a link to the demo, to their package on NPM, and a screenshot. And so I should be able to, using the API, get a list a list of like the name, the screenshot, all those good things into our into the site. And so let me go ahead and do that by grabbing I'm just going to grab this straight out actually. So let's grab this and let's drop it into here. And I only need the one. I think I just need this. So I'm gonna drop the longer one for now because I don't have a view set up. I don't think we need a query name. We're not mapping between tables, and we're not linking between tables. So, oh, interesting. Yeah. So this is cool. You can set a column name to a content type, and that would that's what I'm gonna have. Oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do for the screenshot so that I can get those screenshots out. Ooh, I thought that was gonna be way harder. So that's exciting. Okay, so I need the base ID, which is gonna be in here somewhere. Let's take a look. It's the base ID. That base ID is going to be up here, I think. No, it's in here somewhere. There's the base ID. So I can take that, drop this in. The table name is themes. Let me just double check that. So that's just like plain themes. Table view is submissions. Oops. The query name, we can say, let's do that. That seems okay. And then the mapping, I'm going to take the screenshot and I'm going to map that to a file node. But I don't need a link between any tables, so I can drop that out directly. And then down here, I'm not just that one table. And then everybody stand by while I get this Airtable API key. The way I'm going to have to do this is with a .getignore. That .getignore is going to ignore the node modules. It's going to ignore the .cache. It's going to ignore public. And it's also going to ignore .env files, but not .env example. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to start by creating a .env example. And this one should show up on Twitch. And what I'm going to do is Airtable API key. And that will be, your Airtable API key. And I think, let me just double check that that's showing up on Glitch properly. Yep. And then if I take this and I duplicate it, which I can just copy paste, and this one is going to be called, oh, that was the wrong file. Come on now. Okay, so let me delete this one. Yep. Don't want that copy. I'll just create a new file. .m.development. Then what should happen? No, you weren't supposed to show up, you little punk. So that one wasn't supposed to show up because it, is ignored. Let me see if I can do this because I need to be able to hide these to avoid, so that I can actually set. I need to be able to set environment variables or else this isn't going to work. Let me figure out if I am doing something. Let's see, I'm not going to do collaborative editing just yet. The delay between Glitch and Twitch is 20 seconds. Oof, that's rough. Good catch on the .node modules. That's not what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to be just regular node modules. Man, this is killing me. I know that there's a way to do this. Remix project. Editor settings. All right, let's go to the Google. So glitch, environment variables. Set them inside your .env file. Interesting. Okay. So this will be... Oh, and we just got some useful documentation. Thank you, Bryce. Let's take a look at this. Files specified in the git ignore are correctly being hidden. They're being included when the project is remixed. Generated config files to a folder called .data. I don't know what that means. Okay. Let's try refreshing the page. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's now hiding the .m.development. Do y'all see, is anybody in the glitch? Are you seeing the .m.development? Can you see the content in it? So if I go in here and I'm Airtable API key and I type super secret, can y'all see that? It is gone. Okay. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go ahead and actually add this. So bear with me while I pull this off screen. And then I got to pull the Airtable stuff off screen for a second. I'm going to get my API key. And my API key is here. I'm dropping it into my project and saving. Okay, and then I'm going to bring this back across. All right, and so, oh, come on, line up. Okay, then I can hide that API key again. Bring this back across. All right, so we've got what should be the right information to make this work. I want to be able to just close. What is this? What are you doing? I don't want that either. Get out of here. Somehow I got a bunch of local files. Okay, So I'm looking at this Gatsby config. It's got everything that I want in it, and I am going to transfer this out to use, transfer this out to use the, stop helping. Here we go. Gonna pull in the .env, so we're gonna require .env. Then I'm gonna config, and we want the path to be .env, and we can do process.env.nodenv. And this should, we can check it. Actually, do I want to do that? Well, I can't really log anything, can I? I guess we'll just try it and see how it goes. Let's do process.env.airtable API key. And with that being said, what should happen out here is glitch should be restarting. And we should see, let's see, get rid of that. And in here, in our logs, doesn't like something. What's it missing? Unexpected template string. What version of Node is this? Let's do, let's go in here. I'm going to do echo. How do I do this? It is Node version. That seems okay. I'm going to create an NVMRC because I think that's how this works. And upon saving this, what I want to happen is I want Node to restart using the right Node version. You don't like this, do you? Oof, okay, so you trying to work or what are you doing? Glitch Node version. See, this is what I want, I think. So I just need to set engines. That seems useful. Let's go to 12. I think that'll be fine. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go into my, let's see, I can delete this NVMRC. And instead I'm going to go into package.json and I'm going to add engines. And the engine that I'm going to add, I forget what the syntax is for this. So we're going to go npm engines, look this up. And it's node and then a semver range. Okay, so I'm going to do node and we'll say, can I just set that? Let's see if that works. So that should be set in here. You still don't like it, do you? I wonder if it just doesn't like the... I think it might be like that it just doesn't like this. What don't you like? Why are you fighting? Is it the query name is submissions? Screenshot. Like that? What are you fighting me on? I don't understand the error. Oh, I'm missing it. Well, that would definitely cause it. Is that the problem? Okay, so I think I screwed up. Okay. We've got this module.exports. That one resolves here. Plugins array. That one. Options. Here and here. Woofda. This is confusing. I suppose it could be a non-UTF character, but that would be, yeah, you know what? Just in case, let's go ahead and we'll retype the whole thing. So Gatsby source Airtable. I'm also wondering if it just doesn't like my version for some reason, or the template strings. So API key process.m.airtable. And then we're going to set our tables. Tables is an array. That takes a base ID. And that base ID is this one here. And we need the table name, which is themes. We need the, I'm just going to start deleting things so I can see what's going on. The table view. Which was submissions. And then the query name, which I set to be submissions. And then the mapping, which is screenshot field node. And then when I delete this, that should all be good. What do you... Is it, do you just not like the, I don't get it, my dude. Like, do I need to do something like that? You giving me the same problem? Like, what do we got? Unable to find plugin Gatsby source Airtable. Yeah, that would probably need to install that. Let's go ahead and do that. Hello? Come on now. All right, I'm refreshing. Gatsby source. Come on. Oh boy. Source. Airtable. What gives? Let's do npmjs.com/Gatsby source Airtable. Get that version. And I'm going to put this in here. Gatsby source Airtable. And we want it to be here. And that, hopefully, results in a... What do you mean you can't use nose? Come on, glitch. All right. Yeah, I feel like this is definitely feeling pretty realistic. This is, I swear, most of my life is just troubleshooting things like this. So let's see what I got. Cannot find module Gatsby source file system. Okay. I assume because I specified file node that it's looking for Gatsby source file system. So Let's figure out what that version is. 2.1.5, so let's get it in here. Gatsby source file system. And we'll do a caret. Okay. Now what do you got? So I got this this soda stream, and it comes with these little syrup packets so that you can add flavor. And it tastes really good, but this color is super off-putting. So, you know, that's a thing that's on camera forever now. All right. Are you doing something? What you got? Still source and transform nodes. Oh my goodness. Are you accomplishing things? Yes. Okay. I think it actually built. Good. And now if I go to GraphQL. Haha. Okay. So awesome. Now I have my all Airtable, and what I want, I think, is if I go into data, then I should be able to get the demo, name, package, repo, screenshot. I'll just do like a URL for it, and I'll leave out the size and swag. And so now, there we go. All right, cool. So we're in business. We have data coming in from Airtable. I am able to load up all this data. That's exactly what I wanted, which is awesome. So a couple things that I want to do. I'm going to want to hook up the transformer sharp so that we can do Gatsby image and get like the nice preloading and all those sorts of things. The soda stream, yeah, is the soda stream worth it? I think the soda stream is totally worth it. I drink a lot of like carbonated water, the LaCroix, stuff like that. And so for me, at least, I use it quite a bit, and those canisters last a while. So I would say it's probably worthwhile if you're into carbonated water. Okay, so now we want to... so I like this. I like this as a general idea. However, I don't want to tie the data to Airtable. So I'm going to do some schema customization. Let's see. Do I want to set up how do I want to do this with the image? So the image is going to be a little funky because it's like an object that needs to come back. And I don't know that I really want to do like full re-implementation of the resolvers for this. So maybe what I will do is let's install Gatsby source file system, or Gatsby transformer sharp, and Gatsby. You're still not going to work, are you? Gatsby transformer, maybe. No, you're not working. All right. So Gatsby transformer sharp. And this takes a file node, and it'll transform it if it's an image into a sharp node so that we can actually use it. So I'm going to grab 2.2.3. Probably would be faster to copy paste this in. So let me here, and then it was 2.2.3. Then I also need Gatsby plugin sharp. And that one is what version? 2.2.7. So we'll go 2.2.7. That's not the right place for it. Whoops. What did I just do? Oh, buddy. I did the click and drag, and it happened, but it happened slower than I expected. So, all right, this now is a valid package.json, which means it should start downloading things for us. And once we get that in, what we should hopefully see is that in that that data that we're getting back from Airtable, I can guess fine, I can set you to version 10 since you keep complaining. Maybe like this. Wait, what if I do this? I want to do this. One of these is going to work. Maybe. Node 12. Oh, okay, so that's what I was doing wrong. Instead of using a V, I just needed to put in an actual version. So the 12.x just means like any version of node 12. Okay, so now we are getting our packages installed. We're waiting for Glitch to finish this up. And once this is finished, ideally, we're going to find ourselves looking at a updated graphical explorer where I can pull in the child image sharp data, which will let us build a Gatsby image preview with that data. And then we can start abstracting that out to be, you know, a nicer data flow. So let's take a look over here. All right. So come on now. I think this is because it's downloading Sharp, which has a pretty big binary attached to it that's got to be kind of rebuilt for the Node engine. And I wish I had Prettier installed. That would be cool. Let's see. And you're just like not running right now, right? I like this little feature where you can just color while you're waiting for things to boot up. Okay, so you have installed, do your thing, build my nodes.
I told them all about you.
And once this finishes, we should be looking at, yes, okay. So we've got this, and now under the screenshot, what I'm hoping to see, if I reload, maybe it's not going to do what I thought. Full. Did you not get installed? Like, what happened? All right, so let's go back in here and let's look at this output because it kind of seems like it didn't pull in. Oh, I know why. We didn't actually install it. So I've added Gatsby source Airtable, but I didn't actually add the transformer. So Gatsby transformer sharp, and then I also need the plugin. Yeah, so Glitch is it's an online editor, and the general idea here is that I can edit in my my VS Code instance, and it live updates on Glitch, and that's pretty cool from the standpoint of like I get to use my my standard environment with all the features that I want. Type ahead hints, those sorts of things, but it'll update in a live environment. Now, the reason that I'm currently looking at Glitch and not looking at my local editor is that I want to get these plugins installed. And while we're doing all of that, I need to be here because I haven't figured out how to install packages from the code editor. Although I guess we can look at that for a second. What are my Glitch options? I mean, I guess I could just type them in right here, and that would also work because that seems to be how it picks them up. Yeah, you're loading plugins. I get that. Have you... Something went wrong installing Sharp. Fun. Okay. So that would show me that I need to do what now? How do we get it to clear the cache? did I do it on the wrong version or something? Maybe it installed on version 10. Come on now, do your thing. Okay, while that's going, I'm going to start setting up a Gatsby node. So what I want to be able to do here is I'm going to set up a exports on, what is it? Source nodes. And whoa. So this is going to be a function, and that function has a few arguments. So let's take a look at this. We'll do Gatsby API source nodes. And so in source nodes, we're going to get the actions, the ability to create node IDs and things like that. But specifically what I want to do is do some schema customization stuff. And I can do that by, let's get out the actions. Let's see. Oh man, 2 a.m. Yeah, go to bed. I'm going to post this on YouTube. You definitely don't need to watch live. So I am going to... Oh, yeah. So with the node modules on the cloud server, yeah, so Glitch is installing these on like a VM. So somewhere in the background, it is... Come on, my dude. What? Like, why? Do I have a console? Like, can I do... What's in here? So what I'm going to do is let's remove the shrink wrap and the node modules, and let's just try again. Like, is it just going to do it again? No, you're just mad. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is get this thing to reinstall. So if I change that again, does that... Okay, so I think what'll happen now is since I deleted the node modules, it should end up with like a fresh thing. But yeah, so what it's doing is like Glitch is running on containers. And so it's like booting up a container with node 12, and then it's going to install the packages, and then it runs that for us so that we have a private URL. It's really, really cool technology, actually. The problem that I'm running into is that I don't quite know how all of it works, which is why I'm getting these like mystery problems. And I think I might just drop sharp to avoid having to deal with this, to having to debug this right now. So let me actually just do that. So I'm going to get rid of this one, get rid of this one, and then I'm going to go into my Gatsby config, and we will just comment those out for right now. That's a problem that's just not worth burning the rest of our time debugging. So what I'm going to do is, what are you going to pretend like that's going to work all of a sudden? All right, so let's get into this Gatsby node. And what I want to do is I want to do an actions create types. And to just kind of show how this works, I can specify a like generic type. So let's say I'm going to do type like showcase, and this is going to implement node, and we'll say don't infer. Let me look up that syntax real quick before I try to explain what it is to make sure I'm not making stuff up. So I'm going to go to GitHub, and we'll look at my my egghead course. So if you're interested in more like egghead or more learning stuff on this, I have an egghead course on Gatsby theme authoring. That's it's a free resource, so you can watch it without having an egghead account. It is about an hour's worth of content that will walk you through how to do all of the Gatsby theme stuff. So go check that out if you want kind of a more structured, organized intro to themes. This one is definitely me just kind of fumbling around trying to figure out what's going on. So let's get into this repository. I want to find my authoring Gatsby theme so I can check out the data abstraction stuff that I did. And I just want to make sure I've got the syntax right here. So on source nodes, yeah, we are just defining some stuff here. So I'm going to implement the node. Don't infer is capitalized, so that's going to be important. And then I need to set some things. So I'm going to set an ID. That ID is an ID. And then if I set a name, that name will be a string. And then what that means is like when this restarts, Gatsby will be running. All right, so see, it's running, it's doing the things. And the reason that this is really powerful is like when I come back out here, check this out. So once the schema reloads, now I have the ability to load my showcase stuff. So my showcase and my all showcase. And like if we look at the schema, if I just pull it up in the docs, it's got the ID and the name, right? And then if I go into here and I create another one, so let's say like, I'm not going to do that. We'll just do another string, right? I'll set up another one of these. And so this is going to restart for me. And then once this restarts, my showcase is going to suddenly include a location as well. So let me refresh this. Right, and there's my location. So there's not actually any data here. Like if I try to run this, it's actually going to come back null because there are no showcase entries. But what's super cool about this is I'm basically putting a generic type in place. So I want like my showcase entries, and I want them to have this generic data. Let me go back here. Nope, that's not the right one. Here. I want them to have a name, a repo, a demo, a package, a screenshot, and that's it. So I can come in here and I can say name, repo, package, and I actually think I want these. I think these work as URLs. Let's try. Glitch might throw up on me because I'm asking it for a type that doesn't matter. Question is, let's see. The baker is coming for you. That's a good handle. Do you have to use Yarn when creating a Gatsby theme? You don't have to. Yarn workspaces make this much easier because it doesn't require you to publish the theme and then install it somewhere else. You could use something like Lerna if you wanted to use NPM, or you could actually, build the theme and then publish an alpha version and update that in another site to test it. From my experience, the Yarn workspaces are kind of the lowest barrier to entry. You do have to install Yarn, but once you've got that, it's kind of just Yarn workspace site develop and you're off to the races. But yeah, that being said, it's definitely not required. It's just the kind of the lowest friction way that we've seen of doing this. And I do agree that the Explorer is a absolutely fantastic addition, Vinceby. We've been so happy with it. Let's see. It looks like I broke something. Yeah, it's because the URL type doesn't exist, so I can't actually do that. We'll just revert that back to a string. And then I want, in addition to repo package, I need a demo and a screenshot. That's going to be a string. And then I want a screenshot, and I want the screenshot to actually be a file. And then there's something cool that we can do here that I have to look up because it's been a while. I think it's in here. Yeah, this is what I want. I don't want file by relative path though. I want Maybe that's not going to do what I want. I was hoping there was a file from remote path, but not quite. We will get there soon. This is something that Mikhail Novikov and a couple other people are working on, and it's really, really cool stuff, but it's still pretty early days. So that being said, I think what I'm going to do instead... Well, I mean... No. Let's see what happens if I just return the whole file. So I'm going to set this up, and then what I can do down here is I can set up resolvers. So I'm going to do an exports, create resolvers, and this one is going to get back a couple things. I'm going to look this up to make sure I remember the syntax. It gives us a function, like a helper function called create resolvers, and then we can just define our resolvers. If you've done GraphQL, this will look somewhat familiar to you. If you have not done GraphQL, this is probably looking wild, so bear with me and I'll show you how this all works. So let's take a look inside here. So in the create resolvers function, I am able to just return an object. And now the object that I return needs to match the query definitions. And if you look at like in glitch here, what don't you like now? I fixed it. Because I said file, you don't like the file. Fine. Okay, so we'll do this one as a string as well. So if we look in the definitions here, under like we've got the query, so that's like our top level type. But then we have all these other ones like the showcase type, and then under showcase we've got like name, location, things like that. So if I think of this as my top level type, and then I go to showcase, and then I want to specify what the name is going to return, I can do something like this. And what I'll get when I go to return this is like this should always come back with always blue, but because it's coming back empty, I'm actually gonna have to fake some data first. So if I go in here and do like, what am I looking at? Showcase. We can have it always return an object. And we'll make it actually return that object. And so then here, now we're waiting for it to restart. What are you complaining about? I solved all your problems. What? Oh. I can't write code. All right, do your thing. You good? All right, so what should happen here... Oh, you're still not going to run? What am I doing wrong? There is something that I'm not doing right. So let's take a look at this and see what it is. I've got the create pages going.
Don't ignore what's happening here. We're having some kind of powerful, weird alchemy, and you have to pay attention when that happens. Stuff is not to be treated lightly.
Let's see. Turn off my notifications here. So what I think I'm going to do here... Oh, I know what I did wrong. I didn't actually set up resolvers. So this is one of those things, it's like, it feels a little verbose to me, and it always gets me, but... so you're doing like the type, and then the field name, or in this case the query name, and then you set a resolve function, and I got to do the same thing down here. So I'm going to resolve it, and it's going to be always blue, and then that should, I think, work. So what I'm trying to do at this moment is just kind of mock out this type, and then we'll get real data into it. Okay, so that seems to be working. So now it returns always blue. And so this is like, as you can imagine, this is pretty powerful stuff because like what we're doing under the hood here is just arbitrary JavaScript. So I can put pretty much anything I want in here and send it back. And as long as it sends back a string, GraphQL doesn't care. Like the resolver that we write will just take anything. And so that's where this gets really powerful, because what this means is I can do something like loading the Airtable data and then abstracting it out to be this other kind of data. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, what's going to be the easiest way to do this? I'm going to look at some of my other repos, because I've solved this problem a handful of different ways because it keeps improving. And I want to make sure that I'm not showing a harder way for no reason. So let's see. We've got... Did I do the branch on this where I've got the... I think this is the right one. Let's take a look. So what this one was supposed to do is take sanity data and turn it into a generic marketing page type. Now, this is using something more advanced, which is the schema.buildObject type. And this is kind of, you're getting pretty close to being in the, you're almost into like GraphQL Compose, which is one of our lower level things here. But what's kind of cool about this is like you get a lot of control. So we're able to say like we want a marketing page type. We're going to use the node interface, and then the fields that we want are the ID, the title, the slug. We set the strings over here. And then if we want to do something really wild, we can get into the content and we can say, hey, get the MDX type. And then I want to find the body resolver for that type and load up the node and then actually just resolve it with the content of this thing. So this is like, that's powerful. That's really powerful. So why don't we go ahead and do that actually, because that'll allow us to do, if you're looking at this thing, if I go to like all Airtable and I go to nodes, then I have to go into data and then I can get like the name. And so the challenge is that I need to be able to get like from this array into data, then into name. And that's not as much fun as I want it to be. So I guess like one way that I could do it is I could write all these kind of custom things, and that'd be a pain, but maybe, I don't know, maybe we want to do it like this. Let's do it. How do I want to do it? Yeah, I think I'm going to follow this pattern. So this feels a little bit wasteful because we're creating an extra node on every page load. But what I'm going to do is actually take the every Airtable page that comes in, I am going to create a showcase node. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because it takes a lot of like filtering trouble out. The main challenge that you run into with this filtering is that like each of these nodes is attached to really, really powerful filtering by default. So if we look in here and I want to do, let's say I want to filter, I can filter by pretty much like any field, and I can by whether it's equal to or not equal to. All of that filtering, if I don't create nodes, I end up having to kind of build my own version of that filtering, which is not ideal. And that's something that we're aware of. It's just a hard problem to solve. And so it's one that we have to kind of dig into. But what's powerful here, so see, I've got this query name and everything. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do let's see. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is I want to take every time a node gets created, I'm going to look for this query name, and I'm going to see if I can just create another node out of it. So for now, I'm going to drop this out entirely, and I'm going to do instead, let's do exports.onCreateNode. And in the onCreate node, I can just borrow pretty much straight from here. It's going to be an async function because we're going to do some data creation stuff. I want to get the node, the actions, and then some helpers. Create node ID, which is what we use internally in Gatsby to create a node ID, and then create content digest, which is how we identify whether or not the internal content of a node has changed. I'll talk more about that when we get there. So let's start by doing an async function. And inside of it, I want to get the node. And specifically, I only want to do anything if we are looking at an Airtable node. And so I can check what type that is by doing all Airtable, and then I can check like internal, or actually, no, I don't. I want to check type name. No. Type name. Oh, come on, don't be that way. Are you broken right now? What did I do? Oh, you just don't like my code. I forget that it auto-saves, and that throws me off a little bit. So, now what don't you like? Query.showcase, incorrect output types. Oh, I just need to get rid of this create resolvers as well for a minute. Okay. And so what I'm going to do now is we're going to get the type name, and that type name is Airtable, which means that I can do a check up here that says if the node.internal.type, I think that's what it is, node.internal.type does not equal Airtable, then we can just return. We're done. If it doesn't, what I want to do is we can do, I guess to start, we can just log it. Let's log the node and take a look at what's inside. So that's going to spit out in our log down here. There we go. So here's our nodes. Each node is coming out with a bunch of data. Yeah, I'm not going to show all of it because, again, that's going to get us into people's emails. But ultimately, you know, we've got the data here. But the part that I'm curious about, I want to control in case we pull in other Airtable data. I want to make sure that it matches the query name that we're using. So let's get the, let's also do a check here. So or node.query_name does not equal submissions. And we're going to have to set that up as a, let's see, node data name so we can actually look at it this time. And what this should do is give us a list of names. Oh, it doesn't like those at all. Oh, because it's capital name is why. Anyways, I don't need to do that because like that's not really what we care about. What we care about is we want to create this new type. And so I'm going to set this up as kind of like a data object. So we want that to match our type. And so we need our name. And that name is going to be like the node.data.name. Then we want the repo, and that'll be node data repository, I believe. And these are just going to line up here. Oh, just repo, shorthand. We're going to do another one for the package. And one for the demo. And the last thing is the screenshot. Okay, and then for the ID, I'm going to do a create node ID, which means I need to get that. And the way that we create a node ID is I'm going to do like submission, and then I'm going to set the original node ID in here, and then it'll just give us a variation on the original node ID. What's up, Lord 654? Okay, so I've got my data, and let's take a look at what I did on this other one. Then we can drop the data in, and then the content digest is going to. Oh, this is doing some special stuff that we don't really want to deal with. So what I'm going to do is just simplify that a bit, and so we'll say actions. We want to use actions. Yeah. Actions.create node, which means that we need to grab actions out of here as well. And that node that we're going to create is going to drop in the data. It's also going to include internal, and that internal needs to have a type. We're going to call that submission. It needs to have a content digest, and that is going to use create content digest, which we need to import from up here. Let's see. So I'm getting a note that Lord 654 can't hear me. If you can't hear me, you'll have to look at the screen. I think audio is working for everybody else. Anybody who's not hearing me, please sound off. Okay, so we've got to create content digest, and now we've got a. Just do that with the data. And so what this is going to do is it's effectively under the hood. It is creating a hex hash of this data. And that way we can know that the node has changed if something has changed within it. And that tells Gatsby to hot refresh and that all that good stuff. Let me just double check. Yeah, we don't need anything else here. So that should, oh yeah, and then the last thing we want to do is we want to set the parent to the node ID. And so we've got the parent set to the node ID, and that's so that we don't lose the relationship between the original Airtable data and the node that we're creating. So upon creating this, what should happen, assuming I didn't screw anything up here, let's see. And keep in mind, if you joined late, I've got a live link so you can follow along with the coding. You can kind of jump into Glitch and see this code happening in real time. This is the output that we got, and what we should see now, if I refresh this schema, is that we get our submissions, and now these submissions actually have like real data, or at least they should. So let's give this a shot and make sure that it's working. So we get our first submission, and then if I go to all submission, which is the plural version, I should be able to request like the demo name, package, repo, and that gives us everything that we expect. So this is a working query. We've got everything that we need here. So yeah, this is pretty exciting. Like, we've got abstracted data. This is going to make our queries really simple so that we can see the content coming out. We'll be able to, if we needed to in the future for some reason, we would be able to, drop out to a different data source or something. But yeah, so this is pretty powerful stuff. I'm not a grad from comp science. I actually don't have a college degree at all. I learned by making websites for my band, actually. So now that we've got this data, this is pretty cool. I am missing my screenshot though. So what went wrong there? Let's take a look. I don't have a screenshot, and that would be because why? Let's take a look at the all Airtable. I'm going to get the data, and I just want to look at the screenshot. So I think what I need to do, so let's take a look. How big is this file? I'm just going to open one of them. Nice. Okay, so this is cool looking. This is one of the theme submissions. Looks like a portfolio. That's pretty cool. And I want to see how big this image is. So the image that I'm getting is, how do I get the natural dimensions? You gonna tell me anything about it? Nah, of course not. So width, anything? No? Bueller? I know, I swear I've done this before. How? Nope. Definitely not that, whatever that was. You got dimensions up here maybe? So this is 1221 by 617. That's definitely bigger than we need. So I'm gonna just kind of, because I don't want to deal with the debugging sharp, I'm gonna just deal with the fact that these images are gonna be way too big. And I will just have to patch that later. But so what's gonna happen is we're gonna get into this Airtable, and then we'll grab out screenshot.raw.url, and that should solve the reason that we weren't seeing a screenshot in our data. So let's let this reload. Oh, didn't like something. Cannot read property raw of undefined. Okay. So this might be a case where we need to grab the actual resolver for the thing. So let's leave this one out for now. And then we'll come back up here and go to the source nodes. And I'm going to use that build object type. Don't know what that was all about. Okay, and then we're not going to do this one. Instead, we're going to use the build object type stuff that I did on this marketing theme. And so we grab out the schema next to the actions. And in it, we're going to do actions.create types. And in here, we're going to do build object type. All right, so we want submission is the type that we're building. We need the node interface, so I'm going to do interfaces of node. And then we want to set up our fields. And so the fields are going to match what we're doing up here. So let me just grab these out. And, oops, one more. No. Oh God, what have I done? All right, so what I'm attempting to do here, there we go, that works. And I'm gonna set up the type. We're gonna call it a string. And just double check that that worked. Type is string, good. So the ID needs to be an ID. The demo, yep. And then for the screenshot, I'm gonna do something special. So with this one, I want to return, it's still gonna be a type of string, but I want to set up a custom resolver for it. So I'm gonna resolve, we're gonna do an async, and So a few things happen when you have a resolver. The first thing that you get is the source. So like in the original where I set up this query showcase resolves with an empty object, then in this resolver, the source would be this empty object. So if I set up something like, name equals Jason, then down here I could actually return like source.name because this source would match this object. So that's kind of how the resolvers work. So we're going to get a source here, but we're not actually going to use that. So I'm just going to stub it out with a leading underscore. That's just kind of a convention for showing that some piece of code is not being used. And then over here, I think my glitch stuff is starting to freeze up, which is a little concerning. Is it working over here? How's this look? My Gatsby node, on create node, source nodes. That's working. Are you still? No, you're frozen. All right, so let's write it in here. And then I can get my args. And then we get some more stuff. Let's reopen that, maybe. I think that might have just killed the whole thing. Maybe. Okay, now it looks like we're back. And then we get the context and the info. And so the context is kind of like the stuff related to the individual field. Or I guess in this case, it's like helper functions, whatever we want to pass in. And the Gatsby core team gives us some helpers like this node model where we can load the entire node. And so maybe we need that. Then the info includes some like deep stuff. So if we want to get into the actual schema and load these types and stuff, we got to get in there. So that's what we're going to be doing here. Let me don't know what I'm doing over here. Context and info. And then inside, I can do something like, we'll get the type out. That's going to be info, schema, get type, submission. And then what do I need next? The resolver will be type. Oh no, I don't want the submission. I actually want the Airtable. So I'm going to do the Airtable, and I want. Ooh, interesting. How's this going to work? So I want the Airtable, but what I really want is like the data. So what type? So Airtable data, and then I want the screenshot. So I guess I want Airtable data, and then I'm going to do type dot. I clearly broke that. Type dot get fields, and then I want screenshot and the actual resolver. So effectively what's happening here is I'm getting like the way that we're doing screenshot and then resolve. We're basically saying like get type submission and then get the fields here and then look for the screenshot field and the resolve function, if that makes sense. So now we've got the resolver, and then we can get the content itself. So we'll say Airtable node, and that's going to be context, get node by ID, and ooh, okay. How did I do this? So we're in a parent. So we actually are going to use the source. So I can bring that back into play. And the source parent should match our Airtable ID. And the reason for that is that here we're saying whenever we get an Airtable node to go into the submissions, and then we set the parent to that Airtable node's ID. So here, where we're resolving a submission type, the source node, the parent will be that Airtable ID. Okay, this is going to be amazing if this works on the first try. I feel like this is doomed to hurt a little bit. But what we want then is if I run this resolver then, we should be able to say we'll do content equals, I guess this would be like screenshot. And we're going to await the resolver and pass in the Airtable node, an empty object for arguments, and the existing context. And then I want to return screenshot.raw.url. And let's just console log that to make sure that it's getting anything. We'll come out here and let's take a look. Let's see if anything's exploding. On post bootstrap. Okay, so it doesn't appear to be like outright failing. So let's take a look at the GraphQL again. And now if I go into my all submission and into nodes and grab a screenshot, I should get URLs. Ah, dang it. Okay. So, oh, weird. Why did that happen? Context.getNodeById. Did I do this wrong? Oh, context.nodeModel. Oh, no. Context.nodeModel.getNodeById. Let's run that again. Come on, little buddy. I think, are we good? Maybe we're good. Try again. Okay. All right. So let's go back here and look. And it is not, it's not logging. Why aren't you logging? Like you should be doing stuff. Okay. Let's try. Let's also just like log a string. So let's see how that works. So what I'm attempting to do here is actually just get it to prove that I'm running this resolver at all. That's my current concern, is that it's maybe not doing that. Okay, so if I run this, yeah, it doesn't like that. So it's logging the undefined. It logs a null. Okay, so it's not finding the Airtable node, which makes me wonder if the source isn't including what I wanted it to. So let's try that. Okay, so that's working. Let me run this. We get our error, but we hopefully now get our parent ID. Yeah, see, so here's our parent ID. And if I go back in here and I say, like, let's do a query for Airtable, and I want an ID that equals this, and then let's just grab like the data and the name. That should work. So What the hell? Okay. So something is wrong because that should work, but it's not working. And context get node by ID. Oh, jeez. That's what my dad would call a doofer move. Okay, so now that I'm not being a doofer, let's see if that works properly. Running the page queries, getting what we want. I'm going to close up this one. I'm going to open this one again. Okay, so maybe we're getting closer. What'd we get? Okay, so it got back our node, but then it didn't like the screenshot node. Oh, I see what's happening. So it's getting the screenshot, but it's not actually like loading that node. So we need to actually load that node as well. So I'm going to say, I'll do screenshot node is going to be context node model get node by ID, and the actual ID is going to be Airtable node dot screenshot node. Or I guess it'll be data dot screenshot node. Or yes? Right? Data? Yeah, data. So data dot screenshot node. And then let's see what the screenshot node has to share. Okay, so we'll give that a chance to rebuild. Okay, and I gotta wrap this up in like 7 minutes-ish here. So let's try this one more time. Okay, so we expected that to fail, but now we're hoping that we get an image node in here somewhere. Boom. All right, cool. Okay, so now we're much closer. Now we can return the... Well, actually, yeah, we don't need that resolver at all, do we? So we can, like, skip this part. We don't need the... We don't need that part. And we don't need that part. So instead, what the screenshot is going to be is going to be the screenshot node dot raw dot URL. Okay, so we should just be able to return that straight up. And that will give us our plain URL. So let's let this restart. We'll double check it. No. Why don't you? Why didn't that work? That absolutely should have worked. So what don't you like? Maybe if I make this not async. Does it need to be async? So what adding the async does is it turns this into it like returns a promise. So what I'm doing now is not returning a promise. That made no difference whatsoever. All right, so let me just console log screenshot node raw, because I want to see if that's doing what we expect. Okay. What are you spitting out? So that's the raw. Are you is it in an array for some reason? Why are you in an array? Seems like an odd thing to have happen. Okay, so maybe it's like raw 0? Why would you do that though? Doesn't seem correct. I'm gonna be super confused if this works. I think marking it async means that it returns a promise. I could be wrong. Oh, that's super weird. Yeah, so let's actually test that real quick, and then I gotta call it a day. So I want to see what happens if I just do this, like if I do an async function test. That returns a promise, right? But then if I do like a wait test, then we get the awaited value. So it looks like it does, adding async does return a promise. So yeah, it's basically like a convenience wrapper so that you don't have to write your own promise handling. But yeah, so anyways, that's pretty much all I got time for today. But what's cool about this is, so now we've got this built out. We've got the ability to set up like generic types. So I can get the repo, the demo, the name, and then what's the other one? The package. And I've got that for each one, and I've got that in a generic sense. So what this means for us in terms of like the way this is going to function is that we've created a generic submission type for the showcase. And then we can take those showcase items. I should probably rename this actually to be showcase instead of submission, huh? I'm actually going to do that. Let's rename this real quick. So everything named submission. Oh, I want this to be case sensitive. Let's do case sensitive. And I'm going to do showcase. Whoa. That was like my Wu-Tang coming out. Showcase. So we want submission actually. Okay. And then I'm going to change this one to showcase. Let's head over to this one. Showcase. One more. Showcase. And with that, we will change this as well to showcase. And now we've got our showcase. And so, and what's really cool about this again is like if I take, let's grab the ID. So if I grab out the ID and I want to get a single showcase submission, I can get rid of all of that. We're going to filter by ID. I want the ID to equal that. And then I'm going to pull out, let's say, the demo. And so this is just it's really nice. We were able to do, data abstraction. And when we put this into the theme itself, this means that the templates now don't have to think too hard about the shape of the Airtable data. They only have to think about the data that they need and the data that's available. So with that, I think we're going to wrap this up. I will find some time later this week to do a solo stream again, and we'll jump back in and finish out the like UI side of this, actually pulling it into Gatsby, making the GraphQL queries and getting those into a workable UI. And then maybe I'll pull Kyle Gill on and we'll integrate this with the UI work that he's been doing. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll cross post this to YouTube. Thanks so much for watching. And let's see. Yeah, I think it'll be kind of like, how did everybody feel about Glitch? Like, did you like Glitch? I feel like we had a little bit of a rocky start here. But honestly, like I'm digging the fact that everybody can follow along, that you can hop into the code and take a look around. I would be really curious to hear what you think. So please, like, send me a message on Twitter. Also, I'm going to be doing a lot of streams. We're doing extra streams this month for the theme jam. So head over to the theme jam and check out the rules. Please submit a theme. Also head over to my Twitch page and hit that follow button so that you get notified when I go live, because I'm going live on irregular intervals this month. Like, there was no planning today. I just decided it was time. So there'll be a few more of those. So hit that follow button so that you get notified when I do go live. And check the events page as well, because we got a lot of really exciting stuff coming up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, tomorrow we're gonna jump on with Horacio, who's going to be working through putting together like documentation and examples for a Gatsby theme. Later on in the week, I'm getting on with Amberly Romo, who I think was chatting along with us today, and we will be building a podcast theme that's going to be powered by just an RSS feed. So you'll install the theme, drop in your podcast RSS, and it'll build you a full website from that. It's really, really powerful stuff. So again, hit that follow button, and we will see you next time.